I've tested every chassis, every mod slot, and stumbled onto a trick that makes a tadpole unkillable. Here is how to build the best tadpole in Subnautica 2, from unlocking your first one to fully kitting out your endgame submersible. Let's dive in. You can honestly have the tadpole within like 20 minutes of starting the game if you take the right route. You need three things: the tadpole fragments themselves, the room data card, and the processor. Here's the fastest route to grab all of it. For every location in this video, I'm giving you a direction and distance from the life pod with coordinates on the screen. Yes, you can see your coordinates on the pause menu. Yes, even on Xbox, I checked. No mods, no debug menu required, just pause the game. The first tadpole fragment is at these coordinates this far northeast of the life pod. Drop to 60 meters and you'll find the fragment plus some other useful stuff. From here, keep pushing northeast in one motion to these coordinates at a wreck on the edge of the lead zone. Come up underneath and enter through the hangar bay, and at the back you'll find a tadpole fragment, a room data card, and a processor to scan. Once you're done in there, exit the wreck, head over to the cliff northwest of these coordinates, and you'll find the final tadpole fragment you need. Once the tadpole is unlocked, you get the tadpole dock, vehicle fabricator, and the moon pool unlocked automatically. Now, let's actually fabricate one. Make yourself a small room like this. Doesn't need to be huge. Place a moon pool on the floor and then place a vehicle fabricator on the edge of the pool. To make your vehicle fabricator though, you'll need 2 titanium ingots, 1 copper ingot, and 2 glass. To make those ingots, you're gonna need that processor I showed you how to get earlier. It's made from these basic materials I'm sure you already know how to find. Once you've got your ingots, build your vehicle fabricator and activate it, and here you'll see the tadpole recipe. The only mildly uncommon things here are the strong acid and silver used to craft these components. Just north of the Angel Comb at these coordinates, you'll find a cave with loads of silver inside, and if you head out northwest from the life pod, you'll find the Necrolay Hills, and you can use your multi-tool on these orbs to get Necrolay Cysts, which can be turned into strong acid at your processor. Once you've collected all that, you can build your tadpole. It'll take like 30 seconds for it to appear below the fabricator. Now here's how you use it. When you get inside the tadpole, you'll restore all oxygen. If your friends are playing with you, they'll actually restore oxygen when they attach to the mounts on the side. The big thing you need to worry about as the game goes on is something called crush depth. If you look at the top of the screen, you'll see this yellow number. This is how low you can go before the vehicle starts to take damage from the pressure. You can get an upgrade to extend this, but I'll get to that in a minute. Don't worry too much though, the crush isn't an insta-kill. You won't implode and get squirted out into the ocean in a paste like a tube of Go-Gurt. You have time to go back up. Now, if you ever lose your tadpole, you always have a natural beacon on it that you can see from any distance. Come into your inventory and click signals and search for your tadpole to disable or enable that marker. Here you can change its name and beacon color if you need to sort out more than one tadpole and tell them apart from a distance. The tadpole has a hard point on the back. This is really useful because you can attach a spare tool to this, but instead, really you should attach something like a spare beacon, a portable oxygen generator, a work light, or the only actual thing you'll ever attach to it, a deployable storage. The tadpole itself is already a portable oxygen generator and work light, so don't waste your time using that useful slot on one of those. Put that deployable storage on there. You know you want to. The last thing we need to cover here is how do you power the tadpole? Well, if you have a power cell terminal in your base, you can take the cell out of the back here and put it in terminal and it'll charge just like a battery. But more efficiently, you can build a larger moon pool and attach a tadpole dock. This will charge your tadpole automatically when connected. Now, you have 3 choices moving forward with your tadpole: the standard tadpole, the scout tadpole, and the hauler tadpole. Is there any reason, first of all, to keep using the standard tadpole? Currently, not really. Right now, all the chassis have a bug that causes them to effectively not have a hitbox, which means you can take all the chassis into the same tight caves that the regular one can fit into. But if you are watching in the future, the standard tadpole's purpose may be to explore these more narrow caves that the other 2 chassis can't fit inside. I assume this is a bug. Early access game's gonna early access. The Scout Ray chassis gives you a maximum speed boost of an additional 2 meters per second, and it gives you an additional acceleration boost. The Haul chassis is much slower than the Scout Ray and has reduced acceleration compared to both of them, but it does have the same max speed as the standard Tadpole. To make up for this, it can actually fit all 4 players in a co-op game on the same vehicle, whereas the other 2 can only fit 3. It also has 2 hard points on the side, allowing you to carry 2 additional extra storage boxes, and the back of the vehicle is obviously a dedicated storage as well. It also has a camera system to allow the passengers to see below the vehicle, because obviously they don't have great visibility when seated on the sides. So what is the real speed difference between the 3? Well, in a 500-meter race, the Scout Ray chassis came in at 51 seconds. The normal was 63 seconds, and the Haul chassis was only 3 seconds worse at 66 seconds. This is due to the difference in acceleration between the standard and the Haul, not to the maximum speed. In a 100-meter race, we can really see this acceleration distance because the Scout Ray came in at 10 seconds, the standard came in at 13 seconds, and the hauler came in at 15 seconds. As you can imagine, given how much of the game is going short bursts from thing to thing, the Scout Ray is going to feel hugely faster than the hauler in day-to-day use, even though it is actually only 20% faster in movement speed. That acceleration difference really comes through when you play shorter distance movements. The last test I did was a rotation test, and I checked how long it took to do a 360-degree turn when using a controller on maximum sensitivity. The Scout Ray did it in 7 seconds, and surprisingly, so did the normal one. I would have assumed it was faster. The hauler, however, takes a glacial 18 seconds to do a full rotation on a controller. However, on a mouse and keyboard, the rotation speed difference is kind of negligible, especially if you turn your sensitivity up. Personally, I prefer the Scout Ray. In a game where you can't kill anything, you win by being able to run away. However, if there was hypothetically a bug that caused you to not be able to die in a tadpole, that would mean that hypothetically you would just always use the Haul chassis with no real downside because you don't have to escape predators. But before we get to that, how do you actually get these 2 chassis? Well, the first one you'll unlock is the Scout Ray chassis. This spawns in only one location currently, the Tadpole Pens. This is located at these coordinates, this distance away from the life pod. You want to come into the Tadpole Bay here and scan this chassis. And to craft it, you want to go back to your vehicle fabricator and craft it just like you would the Tadpole. It requires 2 plasteel, 1 advanced wiring kit, 1 dedicated core, and 1 strong acid. The new resources you need to make this stuff, gold, sulfur, and lithium, are all found all over the graveyards biome you are currently in. Lithium and gold being in the caves specifically, while sulfur is kinda just everywhere. To attach the chassis, you want to drive your tadpole into it and it'll just automatically connect. You can then detach when you want to using Q. The Haul chassis is a little bit later into the game. You'll need to scan 3 of the 5 tadpole chassis on the map to unlock this. I'll give you the 3 closest to your spawn. First is inside the needler nest this far away from the life pod. Come down into the cave, follow this blue light, and then follow this red light. Here you'll find the first chassis to scan and the location of the first depth module upgrade, so definitely keep this location in mind. The next one here is at the bottom of the power plant. You will of course need that depth module to bring your existing tadpole down here. The next is here at these coordinates, and there are 2 more relatively nearby to the north if you want to go for those instead, but you only need 3. So once you've unlocked it, head to the vehicle fabricator and get your hands on 4 titanium ingots, 3 strontium ingots, 3 enameled glass, and 1 dedicated core. The strontium ingots are made from celestine, which you can find littered all over the base of the cliffs in the Karakoram area, and the creature enamel for enameled glass you get from using a sonic resonator on these big clumps of needler needles sticking out of the walls. One concern you need to know about the Tadpole Haul chassis though is that it does require more space to dock. This isn't too bad, you just need to beef out your moon pool a couple of meters in each direction, but you could always just detach before you actually load into the Tadpole if you want to keep your base profile small. Alright, Tadpole acquired, chassis chosen, time for some upgrades, including that one that currently makes you invincible. There are 5 tadpole modifications in Subnautica 2 as of making this video, plus 1 that is only available in Creative, and that's the second depth module. You have the engine efficiency, photovoltaic charger, strike armor, cavitation muffler, and the depth module, which I showed you how to get already. The depth module is an obvious choice pretty much at all times because it allows you to freely explore down to 450 meters. It doesn't take anything you don't already know how to obtain. To make it though, you will need a modification station. The easiest place to find this is going to be at these these coordinates in this abandoned research base. Here you'll also find the engine efficiency mod as well. Scan the mod station and craft one for 2 titanium, 2 celestine and 2 copper. The other mod I mentioned here is the engine efficiency module. This reduces your power drain by 20% and can stack up to 80%. However, I honestly wouldn't bother. I'll explain why later. The next nearest mod is the strike armor. This one is located here and is crafted using enameled glass and strontium. This mod reduces the damage you take by about 50%, which is extremely good for your durability when exploring near the needlers or the collector leviathans. However, the mod currently stacks, which means yes, you can become 100% invincible. I'll try to update the pinned comment when they inevitably patch that so you don't get yourself killed using 2 strike armors when they don't work anymore. You have 4 mod slots in the Tadpole located in the top of the vehicle here, and frankly, using 2 of them to become invincible is probably very much worthwhile. You will still need a depth module though, because strike armor doesn't protect against crush damage. The next mod available to you is the photovoltaic charger. This one will recharge your Tadpole power cell extremely quickly when you're above 50 meters in the water during the day. Personally, I think this negates any real need for the engine efficiency because for just 1 mod slot, you could install an instant power restore ability that works during the day, and it doesn't take a lot of brain power to activate. When your power gets a little bit low, you look up. If it's day, you go up to 40-ish meters and get a full free recharge in like 15 seconds. To find the schematic, you go to these coordinates inside this wreck. You'll need troilite. You can find this in the Root Canyon biome at this position. It's the glowing green stuff you see littered on the ground in this biome, not to be confused with a tassamite, which is more crystalline in its appearance. Be sure to get a metal farm set up before you use all your troilite because there's a small amount of it on the map right now and it does not respawn, and you need to use 10 of this to complete the first part of the story and 1 for each metal farm you make, so it's very easy to find yourself with not enough troilite if you're not careful. So definitely metal farm some. Do not soft lock yourself. The cavitation muffler claims to reduce your sound signature, but the community's been quite split on whether it actually works. Here's what my testing, as well as a lot of comments from the community, has found. Does it make you invisible or even less visible to things like leviathans or even needlers? Not particularly. Their eyesight just seems to cut right through it. Does it help with some predators? Yes, the electric Geordies and Sitta rays in the power plant biome tend to leave you alone a lot more when using the cavitation muffler, especially if you keep your lights turned off. Some people did suggest that it helps with the collector leviathans, particularly with the one in the Root Canyon when using the Tadpole Chassis. However, I did laps and laps of this place in the Tadpole Chassis at full speed and the collector never bothered me with or without the cavitation muffler, so I don't really think this collector is really a threat. I think it's just there to scare you. So that makes the cavitation muffler, in my opinion, more of a quality of life upgrade rather than like a get out of jail free card. It's worth the mod slot if you're spending a lot of time in the power plant, which you do tend to in this stage of the game, but I would skip it if you're anywhere else. Another thing you can add to your Tadpole that isn't exactly a mod slot is the entangled power cell, which you can find the schematics of at this location, here and here. This will give you more power. If you combine it with the fact that you can dock the Tadpole and charge it, and use the photovoltaic charger during the day, you really don't need to waste any mod slots on the engine efficiency module. My ideal build right now is the 2 strike armors, the depth module, and the photovoltaic charger. When they inevitably patch the strike armor bug though, I'll just switch to 1 strike armor for the cavitation muffler. Hopefully the cavitation muffler will find more uses in early access as more predators and areas are added to the game, but right now the 2 classes of predator are basically guys with really good eyesight who aren't really affected by the cavitation muffler, and guys who just don't do any damage anyway. Even without the strike armor bug, you're never really in danger from a marrow breach or a nibbler. But the Tadpole isn't the only thing you can mod to become ideal for your playstyle. You can also mod yourself. That's why I'm going to be making a guide to all the best biomods in early access in Subnautica 2, and when that's out, it'll be popping up on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.